Welcome to Intern Whisperer Live, the show all about internships and how to survive them. This is Jerron.
This is Isabella.
And on this week's show, we're going to talk about the Department of Labor wage and our division's 7 criteria for unpaid internships. How does this impact employers and students? And a visit from Lake Highland Prep School entrepreneur classes last Wednesday's and UCF's The Exchange.
It was a real mouthful, right? So tonight, this is just Jerron and myself on the show, and this is unique. So we're enjoying this special bonding time because he's going to show me how to learn to use the equipment. So that's post-show. Maybe we can do that a little bit later. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to give some shout-outs for our socials. So you can find us on Facebook at Pivot Biz Consult. Intern Pursuit is also on Facebook. And you can find us on Twitter at Pivot Biz Consult and at Intern Pursuit. We cross-promote here because I create experiential compliant intern programs through Pivot, and then Intern Pursuit is the software that's going to be launching soon, people. We also have our LinkedIn page, and you can find us under Pivot Biz Consult. And the same look, you can listen to us on the mixlr.com Valencia College radio station, and you can watch us live on Facebook at Pivot Biz Consult. And the recorded version, Jerron, they can watch that on Intern Pursuit?
Of course.
Awesome. Okay. So maybe not live, but the recorded version definitely.
But it's just as good.
Is it? It is. Of course it is. Is that on our Facebook and YouTube? I think I'm putting it on both, the recorded, right?
Correct. It is on the Facebook, it is on YouTube, and it has to on the YouTube Pivot page, and then we have to still move everything over to the Intern Pursuit page.
Very good. So we're going to work on getting that done tonight also for all of our listeners. All right. So sponsor message?
All right. Sponsor number 1. Starter Studio is an accelerator and collaboration space located in downtown Orlando. Starter Studio provides programs and services that help these innovators to learn, grow, and fund their startups and bring an impact to our economic growth with high-wage jobs and advances in the use of technology and innovation. A healthy startup community doesn't exist in a bubble. And Starter Studio is working to connect startups to a broader entrepreneurial ecosystem that will help them grow. You can find them at starterstudio.org. Thank you, Starter Studio. This is all a mouthful today for me.
I know. It is like a tongue twister. It's like those little nursery rhymes that are she sells seashores, whatever it is. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's hard. It's just hard. Yeah.
You come back from the weekend, you don't know what to expect.
That is right. And so we have to use our own voices to give our transition music, apparently, right? So we're doing that. I don't know. Your turn to sing. I did it last week. Yeah.
All right. I don't sing. I'll just do some nice voice work.
That's fine. That's totally
All right.
fine.
Spotlight on the Department of Labor new guidelines. Isabella, founder and owner of Pivot Business Consulting and Intern Pursuit Software and Game.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about these. Oh, did I mess something up? Oh, okay. Little just fun in the studios for all of us.
We're all learning today.
Yeah, today for sure. So the Department of Labor, last year there used to be 6 criteria. And as of January, I think it was January 18th of this year, it got switched up to 7. And that sounds like it should be a lot more, making people be way more compliant. And it sounds a little scary, I think, for employers to go from 6 to 7. It's like, oh my goodness, now what am I going to have to do? However, the actual criteria have relaxed, and they've made it a little bit easier for employers to have unpaid interns, but that doesn't mean that they're doing it the right way. So that's the biggest concern that's out there. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and actually read directly from some of this language, and then we'll have some discussion about it. But the for-profit employers are really required to pay employees for their work. That's also interns and students. However, they may not be employees under this new guideline that just came out in January because they may not be required to have any compensation. So the test for an unpaid intern and student, this has been tested in the courts. There were a lot of lawsuits, like with the Black Swan, and I think it was ABC. I have to go back and look at my notes. But that one of the channels, and I will make sure I'm actually saying this correctly because I certainly don't want to cause any hubaloo. Anyway, so the primary beneficiary test is to determine who is benefiting from that intern being there. Is it the employer or the student? And that's the most important question, because part of what I do when I work with an employer is I create a program that is benefiting the student, which is the right way to do it. So if I, as an employer, am bringing a student in and they're working for me and I'm making money off of the work that they're doing, that means I'm not in compliance. So if I'm bringing you in and I'm having you graphic design, logos and things like that, and somebody's paying me for it and I'm not paying you, that makes me not in compliance. However, if I make sure that I have a mentor there that can look at your work, because I'm treating you like a contractor. Do you see there's a bit of a difference?
Yes.
Yeah, because I would just want to make sure that the puzzled look on your face is not because I'm not explaining.
Oh, this is
something.
just my listening to
focus
focus
voice.
face.
Got it. Focus face. So, wow, that's another tongue twister.
Right. FF.
Yeah, be real careful with that one. Anyway, the key question is, if I bring in a student that's doing that, and I've brought in students before that are graphic designers, but their work is not of the same caliber as somebody that's been doing it for 5 years or even 2 years. It could be 5, 10 years, because they don't know how to manage their time. They don't always have the same kind of listening skills to make sure that what they're giving the client is what they're asking for the first time around. And that's usually how, when an employer is bringing a student in to work, they've got to be able to mentor them in their time management and the quality of their work, to help them be able to understand the industry and know how to get the information they need from the client or the other team members to turn that work around more quickly. That's the purpose of an internship, is to be able to go, wow, I'm going to make mistakes, and we all do. But interns do it more, just because sometimes usually it's their first real job.
Oh, because we're all learning right here.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, like tonight, right?
So when you first started, or at least started understanding all these laws and everything yourself, I know since your internship program is kind of based around, like you said, it's meant to benefit the intern a lot.
Right.
So was there any mistakes that triggered that, or did you always have those ideas from the inception of the idea?
For me, I did, because my background is in education, and I always approached it from an experiential aspect, and I knew that if I came from that, the core foundation of education, but also a blend of human resource, it's a very unique set of skills that one has to have to be able to create that. Not to say that I'm the only one, but there aren't very many people that focus on that as much as what I have been doing. So I sit down and I have to understand what the employer is looking for, and then I sit here and go, what kind of a student would best fit that need? For example, many times employers think, oh, I want a marketing student, and I want them to help me with social media. And employers think, oh, because millennials and whatever, Gen X, whatever, iGen, I think that's the other one, Gen Z, because that they're all on the phones a lot, that means that they know how to do it in business, and they don't. They won't know how you want it as the employer, how you want it done. They don't know what your content is. They won't know your industry. So there's some automatic strikes right off the bat.
Yeah, they only know how they do it.
Exactly.
And even when they do it, they don't actually know what they're doing. They're just doing it.
They aren't doing it for business purposes. They're doing it just for, hey, friends, selfie, click, 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 like that, right? Oh my gosh, we did not take our picture together tonight.
We're always
okay.
We have time.
We have time. Okay. So there's this place where I normally, when I'm talking with an employer, I see that they don't have processes and systems in place and training programs. So even still, when they're asking for a student to be able to put social content out, they have no plan. And I create that plan for them and set it up, and that's not what the student is doing. So I get paid to set up that program. So the student is walking in, they know what programs they're going to use, they know that there's going to be some training behind it. Most employers don't even have an onboarding system, small to medium-sized employers. And that means they're welcoming the student into the workplace. So these are all important aspects of bringing anybody into a business that aren't addressed, and that's really what this whole 7 criteria is about. So we'll go back to this. So we talked about the test. And the U.S. Department of Labor scrapped the Obama-era test that required the 6 criteria, so that the focus was to really try and help students be paid. However, there's even paid internships, and students are doing work that's totally unrelated to what they may be asked to do, in the regular job. We'll go back to the social media, for example. So in social media, they could be paid, and they're going out to Starbucks to get the coffee. They get to sit in the meetings. They may not be able to do any of the real planning process to help create the social media. They may not be writing the content. And if they are writing the content, who's proofing it with them, making sure that the headline, the hashtags, the image, it's all coordinated and put into a branded package. Again, small to medium-sized employers, if that's not what they know how to do, then they don't have the guidance to, or the ability to mentor the student in the skills that they're really wanting to get. And so that's critical. So if I have a real estate agent and what their industry is real estate, that doesn't mean they know how to create a marketing campaign. They should, around that piece of property, but it doesn't mean that they know how to create the hashtags and make, they're taking the images, I would assume they are in real estate. But writing a really compelling headline and some messaging around that piece of property. And that's what they're expecting a student to do. But again, they have to mentor them.
Yeah, you can't assume that anyone can just do anything.
No, you can't. So going back to this, it said that the big question is how will this impact paid versus unpaid internships? So I've talked to a lot of students and employers where really big companies know how to do it right, whether it's Google or Ford, any of those companies, they have a program in place. And again, I focus on the small to medium-sized employers that don't either have an HR professional, don't have an internship program, a real structured one, certainly no training in place. And they're more of my client fit for me. And I help them create those processes that go in there. But the employers are accustomed to these 2010 standards where now students are being paid, and that's good. Students will get paid, and if you're choosing, gee, I need, or maybe it's because you have to get paid, right? Maybe you're working 2 or 3 jobs. Does this sound familiar, Jerron? So, if you're being paid and you're coming into an internship, that's good, but it isn't always that there's, again, a real structured program in place. So it'd be great to get paid and have a real structured program. Again, not all employers do that.
Well, when it came to your company, what do you think was the first step to actually create that program?
For myself?
Or what do you think is the best first step to take?
If I'm somebody that doesn't have my experience? Okay. So many times I've seen where employers go and they bring somebody in, and again, if there's no program in place, you better have at least a mentor that's in that subject area that you're asking the student to do the work. At least have somebody that's a mentor that can guide them through some of what you're going to ask the student to do. That's at the least. Yeah. So if I brought in a video production student, and this has actually happened where a real estate person has been speaking with me. They go, oh, yeah, I can mentor them. I said, no, I don't think you're understanding me correctly. I know you can mentor them in your industry. I get that. You've got this down. However, can you mentor them in the technicalities of video production? Do you know how to do a script and a shot list? Do you know how to look at their work and see if it was actually framed correctly? Do you have the equipment that is supposed to be used to create your videos? They go, no, I don't have that. And I said, well, then
you can't be a mentor.
Yeah, you can't be a mentor to them. You're the client, but you're not the mentor. And they go, oh, okay, I get it. So that's part of it. But these 7 criteria now, the first one is the extent to which the intern and the employer clearly understand that there is no expectation of compensation. You have to put it out there right from the beginning. Hey, this is an unpaid internship. Any promise of compensation expressed or implied suggests that the intern is an employee and vice versa. So the employer needs to make sure that we're saying this is an unpaid internship. And unpaid can be a whole lot of things, but usually people think of it as an hourly wage. Stipends still count as some type of payment, and that can be, it's a legitimate way of being able to pay a student. You could give them a monthly stipend. Maybe it's $100. It could be gas money, right?
Sure.
A gas card.
Sure.
Or it could be something that is, some people pay commission or referral fees. And that's one of the things that I do, not commission, but a referral fee. So if I've had students that have said, hey, I'm working over here at Pivot, and, you know, she writes business plans, or she'll help you set up your training program. Well, because they did that, they got paid a commission, a referral fee, because I ended up getting a client, and they don't have to do any of the work. So that also counts. So there's ways that compensation can be given to the student if the student is willing to, you know, extend themselves. Usually they're kind of shy and not feeling real confident, and they don't want to feel like, oh, they're pushing sales. So it's one of those things too.
Do you know how many companies often do those referral systems?
Oh gosh, lots of small businesses
Okay.
do. So I don't have a number, no, but most businesses, they pay even their own clients. They'll say, hey, if I get a new client because of you, they will pay them some type of a referral fee. I've received that from other businesses. Yeah, just because they said, oh, here's somebody I can recommend, and then they sign up as a client. So it's nice. Okay, the second one. The extent to which the internship provides training that would be similar to that which would be given in an educational environment, including the clinical and other hands-on training provided by educational institutions. So that's kind of tricky there, because most employers do not set up a work environment that's similar to an educational site. So that's where my skill set does come in and provides a lot of value for an employer, because I create it around what the school is asking of the student, and then from, you know, an academic point of view, and then what the employer needs are, and I tie that in with the goals of the student.
And how do you find out what the schools are asking of the student, usually?
Well, it's easy enough to go onto a school's website and look up what are the core competencies that a school offers in that particular degree. It varies between the actual course and the instructor. So it takes some time to navigate those. And that's, again, not something that most employers know how to do or want to do. Now, I've been teaching for a while. I've been in education for 22 years, and that's in the public classroom. I used to teach middle and high school, but now I have switched over. I taught for 12 years in higher ed, and I've taught a lot of different subject areas at a lot of different types of schools. So it could be 2-year programs at a school that focuses on healthcare, maybe like radiology, degrees in healthcare administration, nursing. And all of those students there, it's not that I'm teaching them in those subject areas. I was there teaching them from business communications, and that's, you know, different. But, you know, being able to help them communicate effectively between their patients and their employer, that's one of the skills there. So it's through this process of working with multiple disciplines, different types of industries and sectors in the business world, that I guess I would say my background is not the average person's, for sure, you know?
Kind of broad to some degree.
Yes and no. It's actually very, very niche, I think, because it's education, it's HR, and then it's the needs of a small business owner, small to medium size, and that's extremely focused right there.
Do you think that's how you were able to create your intern pursuit software? Like in terms of just because you know all those different dynamics or the different academics or how to put all those together?
Yes. Today I was in a meeting over at Valencia College in the district office, and I was meeting with, I'm not going to say the name of the organization, but a well-known organization that was doing a site visit with Valencia, and it was about how good that Valencia, how good of a program they have, an internship program. Valencia College has won an award from this place, and it's in the space of innovation and leadership. So when I was there, I was really able to share some of the insights that I've gathered, and they said that they felt that was really, that it was valid. And they look at how can higher ed institutions be able to bring more value to the students and improve that intern experience, information that's taught in the classroom. So let me see. We're going to go on to 3. Oh, that hands-on training. That was number 2. So that's, again, that's really critical. So the number 3, the extent to which the internship is tied to the intern's formal education program by integrated coursework or the receipt of academic credit. So most internships, I think employers don't realize this, when a student is doing a 4-credit internship, they're paying the school money to count it as an elective and be able to get an internship. Then they should have a good experience because they're paying money for that. And
I never even looked at it like that.
Yeah. Now it has a different perspective for you, right? But if, again, I look at it as if the school is making money, then of course they have an obligation and a responsibility to help find employers that give really quality internships for students. That's one of their protective mechanisms that's in place. That's why it's they go through a vetting process to make sure they do get good employers. Well, the employer has that same responsibility. Now, the student is paying money to be in their place of employment, and then, you know, we're saying that we're not going to pay them. The thing that we as employers can give them is experience that's going to be really solid on their resume, and they can say, oh, yeah, I know how to do these things. And when, for example, we're going to use you as the as my example here tonight. So you're here, and you're obviously, we don't have our mentor here tonight.
Sure.
But we know that he's available to you. And so now you get to show me what you've learned because you're going to be teaching me how to do something. So Andy had to do that with you. He had to teach you. You had Q that was also teaching you. So you've had people that were giving you the training that you needed. You've made some mistakes too, right?
Sure.
And we all learn through those. But now it's your turn to be able to show me what you've actually learned. Now, that would be a great teaching or example to say when you're interviewing that, well, you know, the owner of the business didn't know how to do this, and so after I had been trained, I was actually the one that
trained them as well.
Yeah. And so that would show a lot of really great communication on your part. It would be able to show that you have this team approach, that you can also think critically because you've had to solve some problems.
Oh, I have.
Yeah. So those are all good examples of how you can, be able to share that information with someone. But it has to be an integrated coursework or the receipt of academic credit. So I've had students that come and they're not doing it for any academic credit. So that integrated coursework, that's really where it comes in. It's like, how am I integrating what they're supposed to have from the school's point of view into this work experience? Again, this isn't something that most people know how to do. It seems like it's common sense.
If anything, I feel like it's not that they just don't know how to do it. They probably just don't think about it in the first place.
No, they don't.
That they have to do it.
Yeah.
Or they should anyway.
Yeah. And it's what I usually say. I was at a conference last week, a conference on Saturday, and even still today at the meeting that I was at, it's the same thing. I sit here and I go, every intern was us with 20 years of experience before somebody gave us experience, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Andy with however many, goodness knows, years of experience he has, 20-something years in podcasting and radio. I just sit here and go, okay, well, he didn't come in knowing.
All right, we all started
stuff.
somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. So number 3, we need to make sure that there is some real educational value and something there for the student. The number 4, the extent to which the internship accommodates the intern's academic commitments by corresponding to the academic calendar. So, Jerron, what kind of activities are you in that are extracurricular to school? Because that's really what this is asking me for. You have academic commitments inside of this school year that you're in, this term, and you're in a fraternity, and it's not a social one.
No, it's a professional fraternity, so they're always asking, like, anytime there's a professional event, I have to pretty much be there.
Yeah.
Or even like when the prospective members throw an event, I have to be there. So like I'm always trying to busy, and then I have another internship I have to do at the PBS station, and then I'm part of another event where I announce guests, kind of like a Saturday Night Live thing. So I'm kind of always busy as well. Yeah. So I'm happy that you're always
in school,
of course,
and you work a job.
Yeah, and I have a job as well.
Yeah.
So you're very accommodating, I have to say.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you.
Just thinking about all those things I just told you made me stressed.
Oh my goodness. Well, anyway, the point of number 4 is it's really looking at employers have to be flexible, because what we're asking them to do has to be able to work around what their schedule is, again, in school. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't always work that way. Some employers will say, here, I need you to be here between 8 to 5, right, on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Okay, then that means you're going in to adjust either your work schedule, you're trying to adjust something that's personal in your life to accommodate this employer's needs. So when an employer can offer remote opportunities, that's huge for a student, because flexibility is key.
Oh yeah, that especially I personally don't even have a car. So I remember when you first even called me about the internship, I was very hesitant to take it, just because even just going to downtown Orlando, I knew that was before UCF had the Lynx buses that were free, before I could show my ID and everything. Yeah. So I was thinking how much will this Uber cost me if I have to go to this internship? Yeah,
how are you going to navigate?
How often will she want me at the office possibly?
Yeah.
You don't even have me go to the office. I come to Valencia and I do everything at least it's a 10-minute drive from my apartment. So I'm you made everything work for me, and for that I'm very grateful.
Yeah, I know. And we make sure that you've got a ride home, so you're not even going home on the bus. So yeah, it's got to be something that benefits both parties in this instance, but definitely on the student side. So number 5, the extent to which the internship's duration is limited to the period in which the internship provides the intern with beneficial learning. So basically, it's supposed to be one school term, basically. And sometimes, I've had students that have worked with me for extended periods of time, but I've made sure that each quarter, each semester was different from the previous. So I was building skills on top of others. And I've only had one that is, one. One person that has actually stayed with me was for 5 quarters, but she stayed with me for 2. Sometimes it's invitation only for a second term. And when she did stay the second term, I started paying her a stipend. She had a monthly stipend to help manage the social media. She was helping me with more project management of the other students that were doing some things inside of my company, like working on different channels. She knew how I liked my social media, so I gave her permission to be empowered for not a large part, but she's going to be a guest next week.
Okay,
Brittany.
great.
Or yeah,
you'll see her soon, guys. That was a tease.
Yeah. So when she comes up, so she was the one that stayed with me the longest, but I've had others that after 2 semesters, 2 quarters, whatever the school term is, good, great, and extraordinary. The extraordinary ones, the really great ones, are the ones that I go, I want to hire them as a contractor, because I'm not big enough to be able to hire employees, but I do hire them as contractors, and so then they're getting paid out of the project, the work that I'm doing with clients. So I have some graphic designers. On my way here tonight, I was working with one of the graphic designers. We're finishing up a website for a client. And I said, okay, you take care of these things, and I'll take care of these, and we should be able to get this website published and live this week. And she started with me, Yoshi, who was on our show. Yeah.
You've seen her before, everyone?
Yes. And she's one of my contractors that I hired to do websites, graphic work, branding. She's awesome. She has a wonderful work ethic.
And I'm just because I can't remember, how long did you work with her again?
Goodness, that was 4 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was that for a semester or a year or?
She worked with me for 1 semester. I knew that she was really special, that she would stand out. And I would continue to give her some work on the side when I had people come in. She's not the only one. I do have others that I've worked with that I have, if she's not available, I can go to the next one. And I try to make sure that I'm hiring the ones that are extraordinary. And some of them can't always do something. They've got jobs, they don't want to do work on the side, or they're in school still and they don't want to do work on the side yet. They're not ready. But nonetheless, They are people that I end up hiring.
And also, have you ever hired an intern full time?
Oh, I wish I could.
Okay.
Not yet.
I know you're.
I anticipate it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
And if so, would you prefer for them to have worked with you, like say, like intern for like a year before you actually hired them full time, or would you feel comfortable like doing it after a semester if you actually felt they were?
That's a really good question because I've worked with so many great people, and we would sync up. You know, we were on the same wavelength in many ways. I already knew, man, I would hire this person, this one. You know, I would see them because I knew that I could actually have them run my company if I was gone for a month, and it would either be in the same or better condition because we worked so closely together, and they would know what they would be able to anticipate what I wanted. So yeah, without a doubt, I have people that I would handpick and say, yeah, come work with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I become one of those people soon.
Yeah. Do you think we could have a full-time radio show? That's kind of.
I mean, it's possible. You just have to have someone who's constantly on it, essentially.
Yeah. So that's interesting. You know, we have this 13-city rollout. We've got to get those connected to those radio stations in those other 13 cities.
Yeah. Essentially, that's what you would need for those connections to happen. You would need like a full-time person, I feel like.
Yeah. So that they could actually, it's not just being on the air. Okay, so we're negotiating this, right? So this is where we are. Because you and I have talked about this and beginning to actually tag those radio stations, let's say Harvard. You know, that's one that I would like to connect with, their radio station there. And one, Stanford, if there's maybe Stanford, I don't know if they have a radio station, but I always pick the top tier schools. And it could be some 2-year schools. The schools that have radio stations, we want to be able to connect with them, say, hey, we want to have a collaborative relationship. I'd like to do those calls with you so you can hear what it is I want to have said and have you participate in that. And then we can see if we can cross-promote and get them to listen to us and us to be able to encourage our listeners.
We have to kind of find that quid pro quo kind of thing, like the incentives.
Something that's value prop on both sides. Value prop on both sides. Yeah. So that's the next step, and we've got to get our more sponsors to come in. Yeah.
Because I'm like, we love Starter Studio and BMDM marketing, but we do want more.
We do. So yeah, we've got to work on those things. So let's see, 6. The extent to which the intern's work complements rather than displaces the work of paid employees while providing significant educational benefits to the intern. The common theme in all of these is it has to have educational benefits. And the same thing is in place over here when we're looking at it has to complement. So again, if I didn't have you and if I didn't have Andy, I need to know how to run my own show, right?
Right.
Yeah. So tonight, your job is to be able to teach me how. I wonder if somebody comes in after us, but tonight
it's Andy.
It's Andy tonight. Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, maybe we have a little window of time. So to be able to show me what it is I need to do for this show, and to be able to get it, because right now I would need Andy to be able to do this, or I would need you. And that's displacing a bit of a worker, so there's a little bit of being out of compliance in this area. However, I would just go, okay, this isn't, necessarily a end-all. If I didn't have somebody here, I'm not in that place yet.
But it's always better to actually understand it for yourself as well.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Because you don't always have to lean on someone else's shoulders.
Yeah, I hate being held hostage by what I don't know. And that's actually how I see that is I'm being held hostage by the fact that I can't do something. And this doesn't look like it's that difficult, but I know that it is because I've watched what it is that you're doing it, and you're adjusting this and fixing this, and then, oh my goodness, you're going to go load the show onto the...
Yeah, I'd say like when it comes to just doing this in general, you always remember the big things, but it's always hard to remember the little things.
Yeah.
So it's like even just like audio levels, just like you never know like how will this sound to other people when they listen to it, so you always have to look out for everything, essentially.
Yeah. So you created a guide, and that was one of the things that I asked you to do is create instructions. So tonight we're going to go through those instructions after we finish with the show, and we'll see how accurate it was.
I'm pretty sure it's accurate.
I'm pretty sure it is. But I bet there's still going to be one thing that may not have.
You always forget the little things.
Well, you may not have even have forgotten it. It may be that I do something that wasn't even documented. Like, what if I do this and I turn something and I wouldn't know necessarily I accidentally turned something on the board.
Right.
So
because there's a lot of little things
that
to
wasn't
press.
in the instructions, right?
Right.
So I'm sitting here going, I don't know.
And then if you do make the mistake, how do you undo it?
Well, and how do I know where the mistake is? Because there's a lot of stuff going on this board over here.
Right.
Yeah, and so those weren't in the instructions.
No, they're not.
Yeah. So see, you've got the information that I definitely need to know, but it's like the instructions for what I still don't know aren't in there.
Yeah. I guess the general instruction I can give you right now is if you were to make a mistake, always reset everything to 0.
Everything. Push it all down.
Essentially.
Yeah,
then you at least know you're resetting, and then you can follow the steps I gave you and go
what
from
if
there.
I turned one of these things?
Oh, go just to 0. It literally has 0 on it. So it's like it's an accurate...
So just make sure they're all on 0.
Essentially.
Okay. Well, see, good tip. Yeah. So for anybody David Hunter, who wants to have play with the world of radio, if he was here, he would appreciate that tip right now.
David's not here, but I'm sure he's listening.
Yeah, I hope so. So there's a meetup. I know this is kind of off topic, but I got a notification that there is a meetup on how to start your own radio show. And I went, oh, and it's tonight. And, oh, it's at 6:30. And I went, oh, I would have gone, but, can't make it tonight.
That's because you're already starting your own radio show, and I think we're doing
pretty
well.
We already did start it. We aren't starting. We did start. And
we're doing pretty
doing well. You're right. Okay, so number 7. This is the last one. The extent to which the intern and employer understand that the internship is conducted without entitlement to a paid job at the conclusion of the internship. So we don't promise any payment, and we are not also promising that there's any job. The reason being is, what if the employer really didn't want to work with that person anymore? Or what if the student doesn't really want to work? Then you're in this awkward place. You got to say, no, I don't want to work here. And how can you go and ask maybe for a letter of recommendation? So if we don't promise anything, we're all in a good place. But, when the internship is over, if you really want to work with that person, the employer can make that offer. Okay, something's clicking inside of my headset here. Okay, I don't know what it is. It's weird. Anyway, so those are the 7 criteria, and obviously the focus should be that this is supposed to be educational, highly experiential, and that's how we're able to stay in compliance. And again, that's not something that most employers think about. And amazingly, hey, there's Andy and his other co-host. They have their own show afterward. Amazingly, it is something that even I'm working with a law firm as a client, and they don't do employment law. And so they've said, hey, we want to make sure that we're in compliance. So what do we need to do?
It's funny when even the laws, like the law firm doesn't actually know all of the laws.
No, because that's not what they specialize in. That's not their subject area of law. They focus on real estate, business contracts, things like that, but not on employment law. So working with interns is a very special subset of employment law, and that's the most important thing that I think people should remember is we know how to work with contractors. We know how to work with regular employees. We know how to work with individuals that are minorities and special needs and vets and all of those things. But interns themselves, that's a very unique subset, and that's why we have these criteria for being able to have an highly experiential, compliant program. So, fun fact here, people. I did a presentation to the MBA Orlando Chamber. This past week, we had like 22 people come in, and I talked to them about creating an experiential compliant intern program. And by the time it was over, 4 people came up and said, hey, how do I do business with you? I want you to come and do this for me. And I went, this is awesome. This is great. So I've got 2 appointments this week, and I'm going to be working hopefully with them. And then 2 more for the following week. I talked with Valencia about doing workshops for their employers because it's actually recruiting season. They said yes, and then I have scheduled for March 22nd a workshop on how to create an experiential compliant intern program. So people can look for it on Eventbrite with exactly that title. Follow us on social feed, and they'll be able to find the information there. And it will also be on the Pivot website, where it'll be a link so that they'll be able to connect and get more information. So it's going to be a very small group, 12 people, and I already had 2 people say that they're going to sign up.
So be the next 10.
Yes, be the next 10. Last night, one person said yes to me, and they're signing up. And then today, another person said yes. So okay. I'm excited.
You should make that part of your marketing. Be the next 10.
Be the next 10.
And then that be the next 9. But be the next 10 sounds better.
Yeah, I agree. So how are we doing on time? Do we still have?
See.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, we might have to talk about some other things here.
Yeah. But first, we have to get in our second sponsor.
Okay.
BMDM Marketing Agency. BMDM is a direct marketing agency focused on helping companies reach individuals through online and offline means. Their newest product enables them to send postcards or letters to the homes of anonymous website visitors within 24 hours of their visit, using a patented IP matching technology and our in-house on-demand printing. Thank you, BMDM Marketing Agency, for sponsoring the Intern Whisperer.
Okay, so fun fact, Lake Highland Preparatory High School came in, this is all relatively 2 weeks ago, and this is high school students, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, that are in entrepreneur classes, and the teacher had seen something about intern pursuit in social feeds. Specifically, it was LinkedIn. Her name is Lauren Dean, and she teaches entrepreneurship over there. She asked if the students could come and do a case study on intern pursuit. So they came in a week ago. Luke Horger, who's been a guest on our show, and Jeff Basista, who's another intern with me, they helped facilitate this presentation. And so I talked to the students about, what it's been like to be an entrepreneur, shared with them what intern pursuit is. They're going to be creating content to help roll intern pursuit out in the Central Florida area. So this is week 2. And at the end of week 3, all of their work comes into me, and we're going to go ahead and hopefully it's going to be really solid.
So it's a 3-week process?
It is a 3-week case study. We divided the 3 classes obviously into their 3 separate parts. One of the class is focusing on employer pull. The other class is focusing on student pull. And then the third one is focusing on academic partner pull. And what I mean by pull is that they're creating content that will pull them into the website so that they would sign up for intern pursuit. So I'm really excited about that. We are going to have them as guests, just so you know. Each one of the classes will come in here. They'll be guests. I don't know if we can fit them all in here, honestly. We can't.
We can if we try.
I don't know. There's like 13 people.
Safety codes, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit tricky. But each week we'll have a different class come in and share what I learned as part of that experience.
And what grade levels were they again?
10, 11, and 12.
Okay.
Yep. So that was really exciting. They took a tour of Starter Studio. They got to hear a couple of other entrepreneurial stories, and we took some video of them. Quillis, who's the video production student, is creating a really great video that showcases what happened. It's like a minute long. The school's going to play that video. So that's exciting for him, too. They're going to take that video and play it in their presentation at the school. And it's showing all of the students really engaged in the activities of creating inbound social content. So that was fun. Yeah. Too bad you weren't able to be there, but believe me, you're going to have the opportunity, and they were a very lively group.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait to interview them.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I love about your internships. I feel like as an intern, I always find it, I just love how we're able to actually put our work out there. Because like people can actually see me doing radio live. People can see Quillis's work on the internet. So I just always love that you give us those opportunities.
Yep, thank you. Yeah, and Quillis's name, he's real excited. His name is on the closing credit card as the video production intern. So he's done some really good work.
Oh, he'll definitely put that on his resume.
Yeah, he'll put it on his reel for sure. And then I know we're getting really close. Oh my gosh, I think we only have like 4 more minutes left.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to cut into Andy's time either.
Yeah, we don't. So I was at UCF and I spoke at the Exchange. Now, what is the Exchange? Why don't you tell them what it is?
The Exchange is essentially something that, like, business students, like when I used to be a business major, they had employers come in essentially to talk to the students and kind of give them ideas of what opportunities were like after college, I'd say, or just give them ideas of how to be successful now. So sometimes we had people give us like pitches, like learn how to pitch, because a lot of students, they know how to do certain things, but they don't actually know how to sell themselves. Mm-hmm. So that's something we always had people come in. We always had professors sometimes come in just so they could understand what kind of their degree actually offered. Mm-hmm. And then for you came in and did what again?
So I talked about servant leadership and its impact on communication and culture. And that was, apparently I did really well. And I'm really happy that I can tell you this, because the director and the assistant director said, I see every form that comes through that everybody fills out. And there was pretty close to 200 people there in the room.
Yeah, I didn't know people could fit in that room.
Yeah, they were all sitting down. And there was a student that was one of my interns, and she was in the front row. And it was so nice to see a friendly face there. She was at Valencia. She transferred to UCF. Anyway, and then there was like standing room only, and there were sardines in the back. So the assistant director, Audrey, she had said she sees every single form that the students fill out front and back. And she said the ones that were from my presentation, they were completely full and they were really good. She said that my presentation was something that was, they invited me to come back again. So that's how I know if I did good, because I get invited to come back. But I also have had students reaching out to me right after, and then still even these past, it's been 2 weeks now, where they have said, hey, I want to come and get more information about interning with you. So I was very honored about that. I'm still returning phone calls and
that's great.
all of that. But that was super fun. So I think we need to give some shout outs now.
Yes, we do.
Yep. So I want to give a special shout out to Valencia College, the East Campus here, and to Q for being such a phenomenal program. Wait, what's his exact title?
Station director.
Station director. I always try to make him something that apparently that's not his title. So for being the station manager, I think he's phenomenal. And then I want to give a special shout out for you tonight. Thank you for being here. For Andy, who's outside, and he's going to be coming in. And also for our guests that are coming up, Brittany and Eric Garcia and Brittany Stanley. They're going to be coming up. There's going to be some other interesting guests aside from Lake Highland that are coming in. But I'm very appreciative of the people that work with me now. And I don't have enough time to give them thanks, but that's my game team, my software team. That's my social media team. Thank you for all of those. And I've mentioned some, Aquilus and Jeff and Luke, and goodness, I'll just say it. Katrina and Aaron and Tyler and Neville and Alex and John. Oh my gosh, that's part of the game team. And then software team, it's Lucas and Juan and Hubert, and also Gonzalo, and then Joe Nastasi. Some of those people are from, most of them actually are Valencia students that are on the software team. Anyway, thanks so much to all of those great people. So I think I'm done with my shout-outs.
And, of course, my usual shout-out to my Aunt Darlene. Also to my grandma, because today's her birthday. So shout-out to my grandma.
Happy birthday, Grandma. Yeah. And so social pages, find us on Twitter, Facebook, actually YouTube, Google+. You can find us on LinkedIn, all of those social channels. You can listen to us live. You can watch us live on Facebook. And I think we're at the end.
Okay, we're almost at the end. That means we get to play our theme.
Yay!
But first,
there goes Q. Hi, Q.
Hey, Q. But first, this has been Jerron.
This is Isabella.
And thank you for listening to the Intern Whisperer.